How's it going, guys? Hopefully well. Coming back at you to kick you in the face with a little street knowledge here. Just a bunch of randoms for today. My intro music today, I selected based on the current state of my mind. I've been struggling a little bit lately, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Lots of changes and things, and I'm always surprised or fascinated with the ability of music, at least in my case, to raise my mood and change my perspective. So this song, it's a little track called "Heaven Can Wait," and it's often been a sort of mantra, the chorus for me when things are tough, man. And no, not today, baby. Heaven can wait. So it often gets me in the right mood and can help me work through some, mental garbage, I guess. So, anyways, I hope everyone's keeping well, and I'll provide you with some more, for the most part, useless knowledge, but I hope you enjoy. I definitely had fun gathering some of this knowledge, so well, I'm just gonna get into it. Hopefully, this is somewhat organized to watch, but I'm not gonna lie, I've had a fair bit of disorganized thoughts lately, so I'll do my best. Anyways, first up, let me just cue up some music here. We are going to jump into a little bit about the saxophone, which you can hear hopefully coming through. It's a little group called Too Many Zoos. Wacky little band. They got their start just playing in the subways in New York, I believe, and there's tons of videos on YouTube of them just kicking out the jams there. Really fun stuff. So anyway, I wanted to talk about the inventor of the saxophone, Mr. Adolf Sax. So I don't know. I think everyone knows the saxophone, favorite instrument of Lisa Simpson, ex-president Bill Clinton, and it's kind of a polarizing instrument. It's been described as everything from the most moving and heart-gripping instrument to the devil's horn. So, anyways, this is not so much about the instrument, like I said, but about Adolf Sax, the inventor. Now, I can only describe Adolf Sax as being one accident-prone dude. And it's amazing that he even managed to survive into adulthood. So I'm going to give you a little rundown of his early life, and you'll see what I'm talking about, man. So first up, at about age 3, he managed to fall down 3 flights of stairs and unceremoniously cracked his noggin at the bottom on a stone floor. And, he was bedridden for a number of days and unable to stand up properly. So that was the start of his accident-prone life. Later in his early years, he accidentally swallowed a large needle, which somehow he managed to poop out without any incident. Didn't poke him anywhere or anything. So I guess he's, although he's very unlucky, he's also kind of lucky at the same time. So so on that note, apparently, he was really keen on swallowing things that could kill you or harm you. He managed to get a hold of a concoction of white lead, copper oxide, and arsenic, and he choked that down. So he did not die, once again, but could have been severely injured, if not died in that case. In another incident, Sachs accidentally fell onto a burning stove, reportedly receiving burns to his side, and managed to avoid any post-infection. This was back in like the 1800s as well, so our medical care wasn't quite up to snuff. It did scar him greatly for the rest of his life as well, though. Perhaps the closest to dying occurred when he was, I think, about 10 years old. He fell in the river, and it wasn't until a random stranger um, came up and saw him floating face down in the river. And so they quickly pulled him out, and he regained consciousness shortly thereafter. But wait, we're not done. He once got blown across his father's carpenter shop after a big keg full of um, gunpowder exploded when he was standing next to it. Moving on, I don't know. This guy had a terrible, terrible life, that's for sure. Yet again, courting death, he was one day walking down the street, innocently enough, and a big slate tile flew off of a nearby building and cracked him over the noggin once again and put him in a coma for some time. So he managed to survive yet again, though. Now, later on in his adult life, he began to develop a massive tumor starting on his lip, and it grew and grew to the point where he could no longer eat or drink properly, so he had to tube feed. And given the options of the day, I mentioned this is way back in the 1800s, he could have had some pretty invasive surgery where they'd take most of his jaw and most of his lip and parts of his face off and hope that worked, or try some random medicine of the day. And so he chose the medicine, and I'm not sure what they gave him, but it managed to work, and the thing shrank, and he went through the rest of his life without incident to that, amazingly. So, I mean, the man went on to invent all sorts of other instruments that weren't very popular. Um, he was embroiled in all sorts of legal battles, and there was a number of other instrument manufacturers where he lived that were jealous of him and tried to ruin him. One gentleman attempted to kill him, but they managed to shoot one of his assistants instead. Someone set his shop on fire. Yeah, so the kicks kept on coming for this man. Um, Anyways, I also forgot to mention something, that not only was he a instrument inventor, he dabbled in all sorts of things. And one thing that he invented, this is crazy, was a device that could launch a 500-ton, 11-yard wide mortar bullet. And he called it, wait for it, the Saxo Cannon. So that is Adolf Sax, man. What a life and what a contribution to music, that's for sure. I love me some saxophone, that is for sure. All right, so that, speaking of weapons, that brings us up to a topic that I would only categorize as music as a weapon. I think, it's often been depicted on television and in movies. Sometimes the authorities attempt to blare heavy metal music at someone they're trying to interrogate in order to crack them. My better half often states when we're watching something like this that would be ineffective on me, as I like loud, aggressive music. I like all music, but certainly the heavy stuff sometimes gets me going. So I'd probably just enjoy the experience. But anyways, I think it's a pretty famous story. Back in the late 1980s, Manuel Noriega, famous dictator in Panama, he had sought out asylum hanging out in the Vatican embassy in Panama, and they, the American military wanted to get him out so they could oust him. And they, of course, once again employed this strategy of playing loud rock music nonstop. They slammed this jam out, "Run to the Hills" by Iron Maiden. They used all sorts of songs, AC/DC. You've got another thing coming by Judas Priest, Paranoid by Black Sabbath, Refugee by Tom Petty, and 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by Paul Simon. Not sure how that one got in there. Anyways, the mission was a success. He eventually broke and came out and surrendered. So that's a famous case. But I was jumping into this idea of music as a weapon. Strange. And I came across a couple of examples that I found quite humorous, interesting. I don't know what you guys will think, but I guarantee that these artists probably did not intend for their music to be used in this manner, and they're probably pretty shocked by it as well. So first up, I've got a little Britney Spears, yes? Not a big fan myself, but anyways, I guarantee when this little ditty came out, young Britney never had a clue that her music would be used in the case of the British Navy. So reportedly, the British Navy, they've got a number of guns and harpoons, constantly dealing with pirates, Somalian pirates off the coast of Africa. And it's been a big issue. If you ever watch the movie Captain Phillips, you'll know what I'm talking about. So apparently, they utilize the songs of Britney Spears. They blare them out at these pirates, and as soon as these pirates hear Britney, they skedaddle. It appears to work. The Navy has said that they tried to select songs that they felt the Somalians would hate most. They stumbled on Britney. It appears to work. So I thought that was pretty humorous. I don't know about you guys, but that made me chuckle. All right, next up, we're going to talk a little bit about an artist with the birth name of Anna Mae Bullock. Wonderful name. But you might know her as Miss Tina Turner. And it turns out that Tina's music is actually used to ward off seagulls in an airport in England, Staverton, I believe it's called. So Staverton Airport has had an awful time dealing with seagulls. There's thousands of them every year flocking into the area. And if you don't know this, I mean, seagulls, especially a big flock of them, can be quite dangerous. If the plane crashes into them, I mean, it can knock out the engines, cause them to crash. So they've come up with some various strategies. They used to drive this van around and big speakers on the roof of this thing and blare a distress signal of birds. And apparently this had some success. The birds would freak out hearing this distress signal and fly away. Well, over time, the birds, although they are bird-brained, figured this out and weren't buying it, and so they just hung around. So on one of these days when they were unsuccessful, they quickly had flipped over the stereo in this van to the tape deck, and what was in there? Tina Turner. And the birds lost it and flew away. And so ever since that day, they have utilize the music of Tina Turner to scare away these seagulls. Um, Crazy, right? All right, moving on. Maybe we will stick with that animal sort of topic. Um, Give another little track in my playlist here. What do we got? Oh, yes. Mr. Coltrane. Little track called Blue Train. If you don't know, classic jazz music. So, like I said, we're gonna keep rolling with some animal music facts. Um, this one I found rather bizarre. Uh, a study at Macquarie University in Sydney trained a bunch of juvenile Port Jackson sharks to swim over to where jazz music was playing to receive food. Bizarre little experiment. I'm not really sure what they were attempting to figure out here, but I always laugh when I read about things like this. I think I think of this, Poindexter scientist dude looking for funding and having to go meet in front of a board and explain. So my idea is we're gonna play jazz music to sharks and give them food. This is gonna cost $3 million. I just can't imagine. Anyway, apparently they got the approval and they went ahead and did it. And interesting enough, as soon as the coal train came tooting out, uh, these young sharks, like Pavlov's dogs, came swimming over for something to nosh on. So it was pretty interesting. But here's where things get screwy. They tried a couple of other genres, and in particular, they tried some classical music. And it turns out the sharks prefer the jazz, man. Not so clear on the classical. They appeared to get confused. Um, the scientists had said that it was clear that the sharks knew that they had to do something, but they were all screwy and didn't come over to where the food was being offered. So interesting, right? Which brings me to my next wacky little tidbit of knowledge. And this is about our bovine friends, the cows. I was watching a YouTube channel that I subscribe to called Great Big Story, and Great Big Story is an awesome little channel on YouTube. They're like mini little documentaries on, I don't know, like every topic under the sun, and I always find them interesting, entertaining. And so on one of these Great Big Stories, I stumbled upon um, uh, a little film about a farmer who was rocking and rolling. He had been a trumpet player for most of his life. He started out in school, and he had started each night when he had to call the herd and not call the herd, but bring the cows back home at the end of the day. He'd bust out his, I think I said trumpet. I think it was trombone. Yes. Anyway, he would stand out in the field and start playing a little jazz music on the trombone. And all of a sudden, you see all these cows come wandering over, very curious and seemingly enjoying the show. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And um, if you're not familiar with YouTube, it's definitely a rabbit hole for me. So I kept getting all these suggested videos coming up after I watched this one, and it turns out there's like thousands of videos of people playing all sorts of music to bring the herd in at the end of the day. And so I watched a number of these. I don't know, for some reason, I just found it thoroughly fascinating watching these cows respond to music. I'm a city boy, so I don't know. I just find cows really kind of cool. I'm not used to seeing them too much, right? And that first documentary that I watched, the guy said that he experimented with all sorts of music, just playing the jams of the day, and none of them seemed to work as well as old standard jazz music. So cows prefer jazz. How how strange, right? Um, a side note, there was another wonky experiment done. I think this one took place in jolly old England, but I don't recall for sure. And evidently, they were looking at um, milk production. So they played all sorts of different tunes, they played a bunch of rap music, no effect. They played some crazy upbeat techno, no effect. But when they got into some slow jams, uh, the cows apparently started producing upwards of 3% more milk. This is pretty fascinating. Two of the songs utilized in this were Bridge Over Troubled Water by Paul Simon, and this little somber tune by REM entitled Everybody Hurts. Um, so that's about all the time I have for this week. Feels like it was really short, but I hope you guys enjoyed my random bits of musical knowledge. Uh, Appropriately ending on a little more somber tune than my opener there. I think the message is good, man. You think you've had too much, hold on, man. That's what I'm trying to do. That's for sure. I hope you guys all are keeping well, and I can't wait to see y'all again, man. Take care. Peace out.